Back with Bobby and JG Radio. Today's show is entitled Bexar County Appraisal District, or better known as BCAD, here in the San Antonio metro area. And our first guest is Mary Kieke. She's the Deputy Chief Appraiser. She's been working with the county for 11 years. 20 years before that at Travis County Appraisal District, but we won't hold that against her. I think she's gone away from the dark side. She's now with the Jedis here in the San Antonio metro area. How are you today, Mary?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. So let's talk about the Bexar County Appraisal District, because there's a lot of misnomers on what you guys do, who you guys are, what you guys are responsible for. Let's talk about what do you do there at BCAD, Bexar County Appraisal District.
We appraise all of the properties in Bexar County for property tax purposes, and we do it using a mass appraisal system, which is very similar to a fee appraisal system. It's just we use classifications rather than pulling three individual comps for a property. We will pull all of the sales in a neighborhood, if you're talking about residential properties.
So I'm going to layman this down a little bit. So fee appraisals are what banks do when we're in a real estate transaction.
Correct.
So what they do is they send an appraiser. I was about to say a real appraiser, and then I knew I was going to get jumped on. So they send an appraiser from a bank, depending on what type of loan. Sometimes there's VA appraisers, and they have a specific licensing for that. And then FHA and conventional, I think they use the same. And what they do is they go into a given neighborhood. So you live in any given neighborhood. Like, for instance, I live in Mission Trace. And so, therefore, they would look in, hopefully only in my neighborhood, my subdivision. They would go back 6 months, preferably 3. And they would look at, similar houses, 2 stories to 2 stories, 1 stories to 1 stories, 3 bedrooms to 3 bedrooms, and stuff like that. And they give a price per square foot. And then from that, they just started compare and contrast, give away and take, or give or take, depending on upgrades and lot sizes and, locations of the neighborhood. So that's the fee appraisal. But you guys do a what appraisal? I'm sorry, you called it?
It's called a mass appraisal.
A mass appraisal. So
it's essentially exactly what you're talking about.
Right. But just you have the capacity to go a little bit more. You're looking at the whole neighborhood.
What we can do is, if we are lucky enough to have a really homogeneous area,
sure,
there are times when we will have 3 sales on your same block.
Sure.
And so we can pretty much narrow down what your 2,436 square foot house would likely sell for.
Right.
In other areas, and we would like to use the most recent sales, and we do when they're available.
Sure.
But our difficulty is that we have to appraise all the properties. Excuse me. And there are neighborhoods that don't have sales.
Sure.
Those are more difficult, and so we have to use older sales, or we have to look farther away to find comparable properties, that sort of thing. But we value by neighborhood rather than by individual house.
I got you.
So we will have classified and measured and done all of those things you talked about, each of those properties entered into a computer system. And then when we find out sales prices, we compare those numbers, our computer-driven numbers, to what
sure,
properties are selling for, and apply modifiers to a whole neighborhood.
I got you. So with the fee appraisals, they're looking at something for a sale in that given month, right? So
right,
they're looking at very small, like a portion of the pie, just to make their assessment at that given time. But you guys have a bigger cause, or you have a more to do, because it's every year. Every year.
It's every year, and it's 660,000 parcels.
Oh, that's it? I
Yes.
can't believe you're busy at all. So with that being said, so what you're saying is that you go into a neighborhood, and let's say I own a 1,350 square foot 1-story home. You're gonna, in a certain, let's say subdivision A, you guys are gonna take the accurate information, and then you're going to assess 1,350 square foot 1-stories are gonna be appraised at this value.
In essence, but we will, we make all the distinctions. If you've added a deck, if you've added a pool,
sure,
if you've done replaced, done an upgrade.
Right.
We have appraisers in the field every year
sure,
who are looking at the building permits to see what kinds of upgrades have been done.
So you're saying I shouldn't get building permits so you guys don't know what I've done in my house, so you don't charge me more on my house.
That's between you and your plumber.
Got it. One thing I've noticed is your numbers are usually below market value. Why is that?
That's because we're a trailing indicator, and I think people are going to be slightly unpleasantly surprised this year to find out that their values are actually going up. When the downturn occurred in the real estate market in about 2008, we have held the values pretty steady since then, just because we didn't have a great deal of evidence to do anything differently. At long last, as you know, we've had 25,000 sales this year, and we had about the same number last year, and we are way behind the market.
But you have to be, though, right? Because the reason that you trail, the reason that you're behind is because if you're wrong, there's a lot more fallout for years to come, right? So if values are going up with us, that's great. But if you start to tax too high, and then the market drops down, and like it did in 2009 and 10, well, then now you have all these houses and parcels
that are overappraised,
and then you can really hurt the economy just single-handedly as an entity, right? So you guys are very careful, and you guys really make sure that you don't jump too quick.
That combined with the fact that we have to value property as of January 1 of each year.
Sure.
So that alone puts us behind the market.
Gotcha. So if you're just joining us, we're speaking with Mary Kieke. She works with Bexar County Appraisal District. So let's talk about your staff, some of the statistics on the staff that you have there.
Okay, we have about 150 employees. A little more than half of them are appraisers. The rest are deed people or mapping people or customer service agents or IT staff. We have our appraisers go to the field every year and look at what's happening out there, and then come back and do the analysis and do the appraisals.
You haven't replaced them with drones yet?
We have not. We do fly aerials every year.
Yeah, I think there's going to be like a drone. I assume there's going to be BCAD drones here pretty soon, just looking at my...
Yeah, we're looking into that.
Awesome. I'm going to shoot them out of the sky.
Kidding.
So I have to camouflage my pool, is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, exactly. Put some AstroTurf over it.
So let's talk about the appeals process, because, excuse me, I know that it's one of the most popular, sought-out things to do, but people don't do them because they're scared to do them, or they don't know how to do them. They don't know if they should do them or what the process is. So why would someone appeal their taxes, Mary?
When you get your notice, and we tend to send out notices in late April of every single year, if you take a look at the value and you think it's really too high, there is a form on the back that says, I wish to protest my property value. You simply fill that out and send it to us prior to May 31st.
Okay.
If you look at it and say, I probably could sell it for this, then you probably don't want to appeal.
Okay.
And surprisingly, small number of people actually do appeal. The biggest year since I got here in Bexar County was 82,000 appeals. Now, I know that seems like a lot, but out of the 660,000, that's not a huge number.
Sure.
And if you take out the number of tax agents who do it for a living, a very small portion of people.
So what would you say is the percentage of people that successfully lower their taxes when they do appeal their assessment?
There's a huge no-show rate, but people who come in and meet individually with an appraiser, typically about 85% of the people settle at that phase. If they don't settle at that phase, you will get a notice to appear that says, come in on this date for your informal hearing, and then a week later come in for your formal hearing. If you don't settle at the informal, you go to a formal hearing.
So this is why no one does it, because no one wants to go through all these
the hoops and ladders. No, well, what about, so is there litigation fees that are involved with appeals?
No, there's no cost.
It's free. If you feel
Correct.
that you need to happen, you get it done.
Correct. Now, if you are not satisfied with your appeal to the appraisal review board and then wish to take it further, you have to go to district court, and there are fees obviously involved in that.
Sure.
Is it possible that once they do this, you're looking at it to appeal it and to drop it? Is it possible that once they do the investigation that it goes higher because it's worth more?
It's conceivable. What was it, Darrell Roll used to say, with the forward pass, 3 things can happen and 2 of them are bad.
Yeah.
The bad things almost never happen. In my 30 years of experience, I think I've seen maybe one situation in which a person had 2 lots and we thought he had 1 or something.
Got him.
Thank you. You're like, thank you so much for doing our homework for us. That's awesome.
Right.
And so the best way to do this, because I know there's a lot of, we spoke about this, you and I, Mary, that there's a lot of these companies that go and they solicit to homeowners and they say, oh, we can charge you $150 to do the homework, and then they go and appeal for them. and then they'll take off. Let's say they take whatever money they take off, they get 10% of that discount.
Right.
Those aren't pretty. They don't really bring accurate numbers usually, and they're usually not that successful in what you've seen.
What the stats I've seen indicate that they are less successful than the homeowner is. The homeowner knows his house better than the tax agent does, and
Sure.
is often able to shed some light that we don't know about.
Sure.
But neither does the tax agent. If you come in and tell me, yeah, I know 2 houses sold for $170,000 in my neighborhood,
Sure.
but they were upgraded. The tax agent won't know that, and we don't know that.
Sure.
But
So homeowners themselves will have a better chance.
are much more likely to succeed.
Sure. So what they should do is just get with the agent that sold the house, like Bobby and I.
Get a CMA.
Get a market analysis.
Call you two guys.
That's it. Yeah, because that's what we really do. We've been trying to do that more for our clients. We tell our Januaries are really busy all the way through April because we're trying to help people that feel that. Now, sometimes I'll give them the bad news, and I'm like, look, I think you're taxed a little bit too low, and I wouldn't rock that boat. But we do definitely try to help our past clients.
And we appreciate the fact that realtors do some straightforward analysis for
Yeah.
people sometimes.
Do you really?
Every once in a while, when we find one, we appreciate it.
Yeah. So the evidence package that you guys look at is going to. I mean, I know you guys some check boxes there to do the appeals, but the best thing to do is just get a market analysis from a real estate agent.
But also ask us for an evidence packet, because
Okay.
we will send you all of the sales that we know about, and we'll also send you the array of properties in your neighborhood
Gotcha.
that, say you have a 1,000-square-foot house, we will send you the ones between 1,500 and 500
So
or
give
whatever.
or take, yeah. The ones
So-
that you guys are looking at.
Right.
Awesome.
Our appraised value, so you can look at both your market value and your equal and uniform value.
And where can they get this appeal format?
The appeal is on the back of the notice, or you can simply write us a letter. If you use the form on the back of the notice, it's easier on everybody because
Sure.
we can scan it in. You can just write us a note, and
you'll get it over.
We'll enter it into the system and send you a letter saying come visit with us.
Awesome. So thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to be right back, and we're going to talk with Michael Amezquita. He's the other Bexar County Chief Appraiser. If you missed any of this show, you can go to bobbyandjjradio.com, be a fan of the show, or check out our SoundCloud, our Instagram, and we will be on YouTube looking at these beautiful faces here in a couple weeks. Do not move an inch.